Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant for the month of March. I hope you are well. Using the Tarot of the Abyss for you today. Do you have anything to tell you? Not really. I seem to have been having some technical gremlins recently, so no, bear with me. I'm kind of working through them all. Yeah, and if you're interested and the reading resonates with you, there will be an extended at the end. The link for that is down in the description box. Obviously, if you support me on Patreon, you get access to all of that for no extra cost. So, let's have a look and see what's going on with you, Sagittarius, please. There's the first card. We have the Lover's card in your recent past. Current energy for... Ten of Wands in your current energy, and what's coming towards Sagittarius for March, please. Thank you. We have the Nine of Cups. That's nice. Like that. We've got the Knight of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. That's Virgo energy. But it's here with the Eight of Pentacles and the Magician too. And so rather than it being a case of there being a Virgo active in your environment, and I don't want any of you kind of like, because some of you all have history with Virgos. It's more an approach. It's a dedication of sorts, because we've got the Eight of Pentacles and we've got the Magician under here. And I've often said that there's something that sparks in me about Sagittarius and the Magician, even though there's no strict correlation between the two signs, between the card and the sign. It's actually Virgo or Gemini, depending on how you read, right? But it's this notion of manifestation that seems to come quite well to Sagittarians, right? It comes quite easily. I think there's something quite shamanic often about Sagittarians. And some cards that I've got have the Magician down as a shaman rather than a magician. But we've got a combination of intent and then hard work to pull something off. You know, the Knight of Pentacles is about hard work and dedication to something, you know, kind of plugging away at it in very much the same way that the Eight of Pentacles is too. But with this spark of the Magician going on behind it, it's focusing your intent and combining it with, you know, material efforts, if you will, you know, investments of your time or your care or your effort or your energy in something to bring about some sort of result for yourself. Now, I just pop those there and get some clarifiers, and then we'll get on with this and see what it's about. I have to say, although the Tower hasn't jumped out, I have now seen it twice, and that's interesting. I've also seen the Nine of Cups twice as well. And I wonder if this is possibly what is focusing your mind, is the possibility, like the looming kind of sense of a tower that you have around you. I mean, it could be a move or whatnot, right? Tower sometimes actually refers to a physical building rather than just this kind of sudden shock and energy that is terrifying, but ultimately always for your highest good. And perhaps it is the avoidance of a tower situation that you're looking at here. Who knows? Anyway, let's get that right around. Tell me about the Lovers, please. What is this here? Sagittarius. Yeah, so when I see them and they kind of, I don't know, they just really register when I see them. It's usually because they've got something to say, they're coming out somewhere. Tell me about the Ten of Wands, please. We've got the Page of Wands and the Two of Pentacles in reverse. And tell me about the Nine of Cups, please. That's the Nine of Cups here. Wow, okay. We've got the Hierophant in reverse. We've got the Four of Cups in reverse. And we've got the Ten of Pentacles in the upright. This is a funny energy, Sagittarius. It's quite subtle. You're up to something. For sure. We've got the Seven of Swords at the bottom of the deck. Now, this can be a card that's associated with, you know, treachery and deceit and whatnot, but there is, as we know, no card in the tarot that is all negative or all positive, including the ones that really look like they're all negative or all positive, right? Everything has its polarities. And the other way of looking at this is taking a risk. And we've got the Seven of Wands underneath it too. I mean, there's double sevens, and I feel whenever I see a seven, it's always about kind of reaching that place where you're taking stock of what you have learned in the previous numbers. Like in the six is moving away from the chaos of the five. You know, seven is the point where you assimilate everything and sort of gather yourself so that you know which way you're going. You know, there's the next number on from that is 8, and that becomes that number of manifestation here. So we've got some risk taking potentially. We've got a dedication to something, a commitment to putting in the work to achieve something. And then we have this tower energy, which is kind of stalking you around a little bit. And I don't know if you've got like half an eye on it and you're like, well, there's the capacity for everything to go south. Like maybe you've been indulging in some quiet catastrophization, right? Something like that. But it doesn't feel quite that it's hit yet, because even with these cards here, you know, and I have to say, in all honesty, it's likely that the tower actually came in the reverse, but I'm going to read it in the upright because that's the way that I put it down. The Lover's card is a card of manifestation, right? You've had both of the major cards of manifestation in the major arcana now. But this is more about getting into alignment with the energies rather than the Magician, which is the pure focusing of intent, right? This is being aware of the fact that there are energies around you that are trying to shape you and trying to guide you towards a particular thing, and then getting yourself into a point where you can kind of understand the message as it's coming in. It's about conscious co-creation. As we know, like, it's easier to manifest stuff when you're in that stream of energy, like where it's, you know, where you're going where it wants you to go. You know, when you're in that position where you've got a ton of things to do and everything just unfolds neatly in front of you, almost like Moses parting the Red Sea, you know, like you're late and you've got to get through city centre traffic, but you get through because every single light is on green. You know, it's that kind of thing. Where you're like, that is just statistically improbable, but it happened, and as it was, I was only 3 minutes late and everything was fine, you know, it was all good. And I met somebody who was just about to walk out of the door and they were really important. You know, it's those kind of energies there. Whereas if you try and resist it, or if you try and fight against it, or if you try and do something other than where the energy is taking you, then you come up against brick walls and you're constantly slamming your head against something, yeah? And it puts you in this energy of like, oh, my daughter's Sagittarius, my eldest daughter. And one of her most frequent phrases for about the last 2 years is, I'm going to start throwing hands. And it's really funny because she's dead short and cute, but fierce, like a little Sagittarius, like you would expect. But, you know, an energy that makes you want to throw hands rather than just go, nah, this is cool. It is not where you want to be. So we do have the Four of Pentacles, and we have the Tower with it. Now, this is about holding on to things a little too hard. Usually it's right. It's clamping down on it because it's like, fuck, if something changes, then this is all kind of, But it feels to me a little bit like the realization that you've had is that clamping down on things is what brings that tower ever looming closer to you. Now I'm going to pull some extra cards to see what the tower is about for you. Turn my heater off. I've had enough of that now. Because it might be that it doesn't really have a face at the moment. It's more just a feeling. There's something is coming, something is looming. And if you're sensitive in the slightest, and in my experience, Sagittarians generally are, you know, there's often those times where you're like, something is coming. And there's no reason for you to think it, and yet it's coming nonetheless. And you're like, You're going to start to get a little bit antsy or a little bit twitchy. A little bit like you have to do some things and you don't really know what it is that you have to do, or maybe you do know what it is that you have to do, but this movement is required anyway. Tell me about this tower, please, for Sagittarius. We've got the Three of Cups and we've got the Two of Swords. It's like decisions that need to be made about the people that you are choosing to spend time with at the moment, possibly people that you are supporting or are supporting you. It feels like there's knowledge that there's a shift coming up. There's a Magician at the bottom of the deck there. And this is definitely people or a community, like a set of people that you have an emotional relationship with. Like something needs to shift, because trying to clamp down on things as they are now is the thing that is going to make everything too rigid and too tense to make it fall down. Right? Not to make it fall down, and that will result in its falling down. Whereas there is a kind of fluidity here that is being asked of you. Like, you know, just let things kind of go as they're going to go. It's like I said at the beginning, there's this interesting kind of subtlety, this nuance that's underscoring it. Because this feels really kind of ephemeral. You know that there has to be a shift in the way that you emotionally relate to a situation, but you haven't quite detected the edges of this yet, the parameters within which you need to work. It's just that there's a knowledge that the change is coming, the shift is coming, and that you are kind of adjusting ahead of time without knowing exactly what the shift or the change is. I hope that this is making sense. We've got the Magician at the bottom of the deck here, and I do feel like there's a sense of kind of wanting to get out in front of it before it broadsides you like a tower. You know, you're quite happy for the disruption that is implied by the tower as long as you are prepared for it. And this is quite interesting because Sagittarius can kind of spin on a sixpence with things. You know, you can kind of bound off in a particular direction that is, you know, at a moment's notice. There is an inherent fluidity with you as it is, because you know you're mutable fire. You don't want to stay in one place for too long. But trying to get out ahead of whatever this is seems to be consuming you here at the moment. And like I said, it's about trying to find a way to be out ahead of something when you don't know what it looks like, or how it travels, or how it will arrive. You know, it feels a little bit discombobulating, but it's there nonetheless. So when we move into your current energy, we've got the Ten of Wands. Oh, that's a card of burden, and it's a card of hard work. But and the interesting thing is that although it is burden and it's hard work, there's an understanding that some burden and some hard work is necessary to get you where you want to go. But perhaps a realization in your present circumstances that you've been kind of going at things the wrong way. The wrong way, like the hard way round. You've been making things hard for you. And I don't think it's like physically hard, exactly. I think it's about attention, and I think it's about where you're allowing your energy to flow at the moment. And I think that things have got a little bit confusing. And what we're seeing here is this energy that just is there but doesn't really have direction. You know, maybe you're spreading yourself a little bit too thin. Maybe you're taking yourself away from the things that actually make you feel passionate and excited. Because there isn't really a balance here at the moment. Like everything's kind of out of kilter a little bit. But tell me about this Page of Wands. We've got the Ten of Pentacles, it's fallen on the table here. And the Eight of Swords. I think there's somewhere that you want to be, but you're not quite sure where that is. And I think there's somewhere that you would like to be, but you don't really know how to get there. And so in instances like this, Sagittarius, I think you've gone further. They're kind of looking outside of yourself. Again, it's a moment to just sort of stop and take stock. Go, well, what do I actually want? You know, what do I feel is right for me? Where am I being guided at this point? I try and sit in reflection of all of those things and work it all out, because with how spread thin you are at the moment, and it does, I'm getting a strong sense of that. It's almost like you can't see the wood for the trees. Yeah. And you're kind of standing in your own way a little bit here. We've got the Chariot card in reverse. Like, you can't go somewhere if you don't know where you're going. Right? You can't work out a route to get to where you're going if you don't know where you are right now. And if all of your energy is on external things, or all of your energy has got distracted and is mentally off somewhere else, you know, you're living this kind of like side quest, like a mental side quest that involves your imagination rather than what is right in front of you, then you lose perspective. You lose location, you don't know where you are, you don't know where you're going, you know, there's just a sense that things are happening. Now, none of this is by way of a criticism, because I actually think that part of this is Sagittarius's process. Anyway, I think it is part of your part of your experience to kind of get lost sometimes and then find your way back. You know, it's almost like it's what you need to do in order to work out where you're going. Whereas for other signs, there would be, you know, an inherent panic. The fact that they've deviated from the path. I'm thinking, you know, earth signs, particularly Capricorn, something like that, right? With Sagittarius, like, you have got the ability to amble. Like, you shoot your arrow and it's like, it's going to go over there somewhere. But I've got distracted by something over here and I'm just going to go and have a, you know, a wander around and have a look. And then at some point you're like, oh, I was doing something before I was here, right? I'll go that way now. Your arrow is always going to hold true. It's going to stay where it was. But it's often like you trip over it again. You're like, oh, fuck, I fired that arrow. This is where I wanted to go, you know, and you kind of follow that. You're very intuitive creatures, but also, you know, innately curious. And like I said, there are these funny little side quests that you have to go off and do. And it's never wasted, because what you learn while you're doing that always helps you get further, you know, along the path to where it was that you were actually going, like where that random arrow that you shot off has actually landed. And I say all this because we've got the Six of Wands at the bottom of the deck. I've just noticed as I've picked that card up that we have the Temperance card underneath there too. So, you know, it's funny. It's not funny, right? Yet at this point, it's perfectly logical to me that a sign that lives to such extremes as Sagittarius does should have a card that indicates temperance and moderation. Because until you push the boundaries out either way, you don't know where the middle is. And you seem to be uniquely built. So yeah, I think Libra's got a bit of this going on as well, whereby you need to taste both ends of the spectrum so that you can find your middle here. Whereas other things will be like, other signs will be like, here I am, here's the middle. I don't want to leave my lane in any sort of way, because if I leave my lane, like, I'm taking myself out of my comfort zone, and that's not cool. I know that I can win. I'm talking about earth signs quite a lot here, right? We can see it with others too. You have to go off and do these side quests, and then you have to come back. The thing that I would ask you to do, though, is be mindful of your energy levels, because when you get too burdened and when you get a bit stressed, it almost takes you more out of your body, right? So your body ceases to become that thing that is useful to you and is the thing that kind of allows you to navigate along this 3D plane, and it becomes something that is either plagued with illness or injury. You know, pick up little niggly things, you know. Or sometimes you get a bit reckless, you know. Grounding, it's really, really important. And I would say, actually, at this point, particularly looking at the physicality of the Six of Wands, maybe think about doing some exercise to ground yourself. You know, whatever it is, do something as a fire sign to get your heart pumping, because that puts you back in your body, and that helps you kind of pull all your energy back to you and go, right, what was I actually doing? Where was I actually going? Right, I'll go back off this way. Take everything that you learned on your little side quest with you, but start heading off in a different direction, because we've got the Nine of Cups coming towards you in March, and this could be a settling on what it is that you actually want, as per what we were just talking about. Or it could be those things actually arriving for you here, because like, the Nine of Cups is almost quite an ephemeral kind of energy, because it's cups, it's water, you know, compared to something solid like say the Pentacles suit, it's sometimes quite difficult to nail down. But the Nine of Cups is about your personal well-being, like how you emotionally are dealing with things inside of you, right? But it is also the card of wishes and dreams and hopes. And like I said, it could be that these things are landing on your lap. Now, I would have gone with it just being more of a kind of awareness of self if it were not for the fact that the Ten of Pentacles has appeared here for you. And that's a very solid expression of energy. The pair of them together is kind of you getting what it is that you want. But again, let's go back to what we were talking about in the present energy. You have to know what you want, because otherwise, you know, it could land on your lap and you wouldn't really know that you wanted it. And it's kind of like there, like, do I even want this thing? You know, it's kind of like getting out ahead of what you want is, at this point, knowing what you want at all. But it's here with the Hierophant in reverse, which is an interesting energy. And I said that when it came out, because the Hierophant is all about structure and stability and all that sort of thing. It's almost in some ways like a major arcana mirror of the Ten of Pentacles of sorts. It talks about tradition, and it talks about heritage, and it also talks about legacy. You can talk about a lot of things, actually. But this stability and this commitment is something that I'm really kind of holding on to here. But look at this. This has come out in the reverse. So this is the opposite then of everything that I just laid out. It is destructuring, dismantling sometimes. It is a loss of stability. It is a lack of tradition and security. It feels like you're breaking some eggs here, Sagittarius. You're shaking things up a little bit. You know, maybe it is that you've realised as you come back from your side quest that you've got a little bit complacent about some area of your life that actually holds great promise for you. Tell me about this Hierophant in reverse, please. I've got the Moon card, which is interesting. And I love the fact that it's somebody looking in a mirror here with this one, because I do feel like that's what you've been doing. I think that you've been looking at yourself and at your life. And you'll be like, where have I got complacent? Where have I not been putting the energy into things that I could have been doing? Where have I not been putting the energy into things that really light me up, that give me a sense of purpose? We're looking at the way they're just looking in the mirror there, and it's like, also, it's like I said, it's almost like you had to wander away from it before you realised that this was actually something that you wanted, and you're coming back and rededicating yourself to it. But I feel like you're kind of blowing it up in its current form. That's like, right, I got bored with this. Why did I get bored with this? Well, maybe because it was a bit rigid, and because it was a bit inflexible. Maybe because it was really fucking predictable, actually. And this isn't what I want. Yeah, there's no room for growth where things are very, very rigid and confined. And actually, I want something much more expansive going on here. In which case, this needs to be kind of like blown apart and not started again. There's no need to start again here, but there is a need to examine what it is that puts you in that Page of Wands kind of energy. What is it that excites you? What is it that lights you up? What is it that makes you feel that sense of commitment to this thing and expanding this thing? And expanding that and reducing what is less interesting to you, reducing what is predictable and staid, I guess, in some ways, maybe slightly stale, because we've got the Four of Cups in reverse and we've got the Ten of Pentacles here. Now, where the Hierophant is, it's almost like one of these like supra-societal institutions, right? It kind of sits on its own, right? It's constructed by the people in society, but it kind of occupies this space, a space beyond it, above it, something like that, right? We can see the Hierophant obviously indicating churches and you know, religious institutions, but it can be business too. It can even be marriage, actually, for some of you, right? Anything that's got some sort of, I was going to say hierarchy in it, and it is exactly what it means, but then it just thought about the fact that it means marriage as well, and that's just put my back up tremendously, because there should be no hierarchy in marriage as far as I'm concerned, right? It's probably why I'm not married anymore. Anyway. This is built by you. This is built by your hands, right? 10 of Pentacles is minor arcana, so it's about the energies that you expend day in, day out to create something. And you don't get to 10 Pentacles without a considerable amount of effort and dedication and commitment. Because 10 Pentacles takes a long time to accrue. But there's a sense here of you being immensely grateful for what it is, the structure that you have put in place with something here, right? You were able to refine it, overhaul it, you know, pull some bits out, put stuff in, because of the hard work that you have already put in and that you are now continuing to put in, right? You're not letting it get old. You're not letting it become a triumph of style over substance, you know, whether this is your business, or whether this is your marriage, or whether this is, you know, I don't know, something that you are involved in, some sort of club, some sort of community activity, you know, you can see it in all sorts of ways. What we've got here is a return to the parts of this that really excite you, right? And an uptick in energy that you have to be able to invest in this more. That's coming through really, really strong, because I think that you're changing the way that you think about it, ultimately. Tell me about this 10 of Pentacles, please. Thank you. Got the Lovers card, right? This is putting you back into alignment with something that you have, that already exists. And the 3 of Pentacles here. Ooh, and the Fool. Like, I think you're overhauling some sort of structure in your life. Again, whether it's a societal structure or whether it's, you know, something else. And you're working with other people to do it, right? You're kind of bringing in assistance. If there is something that you don't like about your business, I'm not going to say about your marriage, right? About your business. If there is a bit of that you are not very good at and it bores the living shit out of you, bring somebody else in to do that. Somebody who enjoys this, right? If it's to do with the paperwork side of things, let's get an earth sign in to help you with it, right? Because they will crack their fingers and they'll get on with that, right? They will enjoy that. Sagittarius for me always feels like it's much more kind of big picture stuff. You know, it's visionary stuff. If it is about your marriage, then maybe bringing in somebody else to assist you might not be a bad idea, right? So say you're a male Sagittarius and your wife feels very, very put upon and let's stay at the house. Like, get a cleaner in, something like this, right? I'm just throwing these random examples out here. But it could be about going to injecting more fun, more dynamics, you know, more dynamic energy into something that has become a little bit stale for you. Shaking it up and bringing the fun back. For most of you, I don't feel like it is marriages at all. I don't feel like it's relationships. I feel like it's something that you've been involved in creating and that you kind of lost interest in. Yet there is something quite powerful in your involvement with this. I see this Lovers card coming up twice, either end of the reading. It's you're being pulled back to it for a reason. There's something important about all of this. And it's important for you to work with other people on this too. We've got the Fool card and then the Magician underneath that, right? The new start, the liberation comes from thinking about this entire situation differently and investing differently in it, right? Know what your strengths are and bring those to the table. And where you can correctly identify your weaknesses, the ways in which you feel burdened by whatever it is that you're doing, get help in, get assistance in, get somebody who is better at that kind of thing than you, right? Because what you can do together to expand this, to be much more fulfilling for you, is an order of magnitude more likely if you can get other people to come in, because otherwise I don't see you going back into it, you know? Right, I'm gonna leave it there. If this has resonated with you, I'm going over to Vimeo now. We're going to have a look at March specifically and see what's going on there. If you'd like to join me, please do feel free. If not, not a problem at all. I will see you next time. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.